I give the floor to the representative of Pakistan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to thank the French presidency for convening this timely and critical debate. We are also grateful to the Secretary General for his sobering and candid briefing and his clear and urgent recommendations. We commend and salute the United Nations staff and humanitarian workers who are engaged in Gaza under difficult circumstances. Mr. President, the tragedy unfolding in Gaza is without precedent, both in scale and in humanity. This is not merely a humanitarian crisis. It is the systematic destruction of a people and the erasure of a nation's right to exist. Israel's attack on Al-Ahli Hospital earlier this month, the last major hospital providing critical health care, was a horrific massacre. The deliberate targeting of civilians and essential infrastructure, the use of starvation as a weapon, and the incineration of displaced families in tents. These are not collateral damages of war. They are methods of war. The occupying power's intent is unmistakable: to leave no space that is safe for Palestinians. These are acts of war crimes and ethnic cleansing. Israel's unilateral breach of the ceasefire agreement brokered by Egypt, Qatar, and the United States was a deliberate choice of return to war over diplomacy. This assault on Gaza is killing civilians at 4 times the rate of previous conflicts. Since hostilities resumed, nearly 2,000 more Palestinians have been killed, adding to the staggering death toll of over 52,000, among them more than 17,000 children. For over 7 weeks, Gaza has been under total siege. Food, water, and medicine have been blocked, plunging over 2 million people into famine. The World Food Programme has warned that supplies are exhausted. The United Nations now states plainly, Gaza is not at risk of famine. It is experiencing one. Even humanitarian convoys are being attacked with impunity. There must be accountability for these crimes and blatant violations of international law, including international humanitarian law. In the West Bank, we witness a parallel crisis: forced displacement, relentless settlement expansion, and daily violence. Over 40,000 Palestinians have been uprooted, the largest such displacement since 1967. Meanwhile, Israel continues its illegal annexation and occupation in blatant defiance of international law. Equally alarming and illegal is Israel's deliberate carving up of Gaza, where Israeli army has turned over 30% of Gaza into a so-called security buffer zone. That is unlawful usurpation of Palestinian land under the barrel of the gun. The scope of impunity, Mr. President, does not stop at Gaza or the West Bank. Israel's pattern of illegal actions extends into Lebanon and Syria, violating ceasefires and Security Council resolutions alike. The pattern is clear. As long as the root cause, the illegal occupation of Palestinian and Arab lands, is ignored and not addressed, peace will remain an illusion. Mr. President, in the face of this gloom and devastation, the world must act. The status quo is untenable. What we need is not mere expressions of concern, not just ticking a box, as the Secretary General noted this morning, but decisive and collective action focused on 3 essential objectives. First, an immediate and permanent ceasefire. Without a ceasefire, there can be no protection of civilians, no humanitarian relief, no political process. Resolution 2735 must be fully and swiftly implemented. The ceasefire must extend to the West Bank, where violence is escalating. Every day of delay costs innocent lives, and the ceasefire must be permanent, because civilian lives on both sides cannot be negotiated in cycles of violence and destruction. Second, full and unhindered humanitarian access. The blockade of Gaza must be lifted now. Humanitarian access is not a concession to be granted, but a legal obligation. Aid workers, convoys, and medical teams must operate freely and safely. Starvation cannot be normalized as a weapon of war. Aid is not negotiable, as the Secretary General said. Collective punishment must end. The international community must mobilize massive and sustained assistance to prevent total famine and begin the process of recovery and rebuilding shattered lives. The Gaza reconstruction plan must be fully and actively supported, and there must be no forced displacement of Gazans from their land. Third, a clear political horizon grounded in Palestinian statehood. Humanitarian relief addresses the symptom. It's only justice that can cure the disease, which is the occupation. History has shown us that ending the violence without ending the occupation will only invite future cycles of conflict. The Palestinian people deserve a credible and irreversible political path forward towards a sovereign, independent, and contiguous and viable state of Palestine based on the 1967 borders with Al-Quds al-Sharif as its capital. In this context, the upcoming June conference on realization of the two-state solution, co-chaired by France and Saudi Arabia, is a vital opportunity. It must deliver tangible outcomes, a timeline for Palestinian statehood, a freeze and reversal of settlement expansion, concrete measures to protect civilians and holy sites, and full, equal, and rightful membership of Palestine in the United Nations. Pakistan calls on the international community to ensure the success of this conference. Let us make it a turning point, not another missed opportunity. Mr. President, Foreign Minister, Pakistan firmly believes that sustainable peace in the Middle East cannot be built on the normalization of occupation. The world must come to terms with this reality. 75 years of failure have shown one immutable truth. Peace cannot coexist with occupation. Justice cannot thrive under apartheid. And stability cannot take root where millions remain stateless. The world knows what must be done, and I believe this Council itself knows what is the ultimate path to peace. Having endorsed the framework for pacific settlement of the Palestinian question in its various resolutions over the years, the only question that remains is whether there is the necessary will to do so. As echoed during yesterday's debate on refugees, there is an urgent imperative to address the root causes of conflicts. Around this table, there was a unanimous call yesterday for the Council to do more, not only to respond to crises, but to prevent them and to promote peaceful, just, and lasting settlements of ongoing and protracted conflicts, particularly those involving foreign occupation. Let us work together to realize that objective and to uphold the promise of the UN Charter and international law for all peoples. I thank you.
Je remercie le représentant.
I thank the representative of Pakistan.